GG Blankies proudly presents Musings with Steve and Teresa. They're here to enlighten, entertain, and inform about issues they think are important. They want people to think about how positive actions make positive people. Their show is captured and linked to YouTube. The programs are listed in the archives of both Blog Talk Radio and YouTube video, and you can watch it as well as listen. Now on with the show.
Hello everyone, welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Our show is captured and linked to YouTube. Our programs are listed in the archives of both Blog Talk Radio and YouTube as Musings with Steve and Teresa. Links can be found on our Facebook page. You can watch as well as listen. And strangely enough, we refer to our efforts as Musings with Steve and Teresa. I'm Steve, a co-host.
I'm Teresa, the other co-host.
And our guest today is Patrick Dangle, business advisor for Ohio University.
Ohio State University.
State University, yes. I don't know where I am. We're here to enlighten, entertain, and inform about issues we think are important. We want people to think about how positive actions make positive people. We're here today to explore some questions from Patrick, and I affectionately called them do-right questions. And the negativity of our environment is such that everything is dark and bleeding and whatever. And his question is, what are we doing right? And so we have a series of questions here we're going to ask about. But first, Teresa, what about the blankie situation?
Well, I brought green stripes back because it's still available. And I had a thought the other day too. Now, to branch out, I'm always thinking of ways to different purposes for blankets, different marketing groups, I guess. And I had a thought the other day that something like this would also be perfect for a wheelchair or like a lap blanket, somebody that needed just a little cover and didn't want to tie it up in the wheels. That this would also be perfect for anybody. I mean, one of my things is I make security blankets for toddlers of all ages. So I think this would make a nice gift for somebody that's wheelchair bound or a person in a nursing home. And I'm going to explore that option a little more. And,
If I can say something from a personal experience, when I grew up a long time ago, we had teddy bears. And the teddy bears, as a matter of fact, my daughter now has a teddy bear that I used to cling on to when I was growing up. Recently we had a family outing, and one of my grandchildren did not carry a teddy bear. Do you know what he carried?
What?
A baby blanket. And the baby blanket, it was sort of unique, but wherever he would go,
that blanket went with them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I found that rather interesting because as soon as my daughter-in-law said, "Now don't forget your baby blanket," I thought, wow, that is a neat concept. And here we have you, Teresa, being involved with different colors of baby blankets, etc.
And I met a lady once that one of the times when I was out with these out over the summer at a location, that she told me, she said that she had a 30-year-old nephew that carried a piece of his blanket in his wallet. You know, 30 years old, he had like the last piece of his blankie from his childhood was in his wallet. I said, now wouldn't that be something? One of my blankets would be carried around for that long. That would be so nice. I like to make people comfortable, and I think blankies help make toddlers very comfortable.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think you have a really good product and a really good idea, and it's different colors.
Yeah, different. Pretty much the same shape, different sizes. And I am working on what I call a blankie bear that'll be fleeced, and he's got overalls, but I put the satin like on his shirt and in his ears, and then like a hanky in his back pocket. So that's almost done. So
to correct my inaccuracy to start with. Patrick Dingle is a business development specialist with the Ohio State University South Center's Business Development Network at Piketon, Ohio, and we have had his association for some goodly number of months, and we think he's a good guy. Before we go any further, want to hit you with one of the jokes that I found here that particularly caught my fancy. It has to do with what we're talking about, is what do you do right and how things get distorted in the news. A guy dies and meets St. Peter, who tells him, look, you've lived a good life. We do things a little differently than you'd expect. I'm going to let you choose where you'd like to spend eternity. Now hear me out. Spend a day or two in heaven and in hell, and then decide for yourself. The guy chooses heaven first and finds it beautiful, pleasant, the choirs of heavenly singing, animals getting along, streets paved with gold. Nice. Okay, said St. Peter, now spend a few days in hell. There the guy enjoys an endless beach volleyball games, parties that last forever. Many of his friends are there naturally, and beautiful people everywhere all laughing at his jokes, front row NBA finals, you name it. He rushed back to St. Peter and says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I choose to live in the eternities in hell. He's dispatched back to Hades, where he finds brimstone and burning lakes and miserable people chained to each other and endless whippings from Satan. He says, hey, what gives? He yells at Lucifer. Last week I was here and it was all fun, games, and pretty women and parties. And he says, last week you were a recruit. This week you're an employee. Yeah, I have worked for a couple of places like that.
I have a joke that uses a politician, and the tagline is, last week, it was before the election.
Yeah, now it's after the election.
Yeah, something like that, but same thing, yeah.
Well, Patrick,
Truth is subjective.
we have mentioned the do right questions here. The idea of inspecting our where we are in the terms of being positive, thinking, counting blessings, if you will, and so out of your list there, what is one of the first questions you find most interesting yourself?
Well, how I developed that list, if I can just go back a little bit, was the difference, knowing the difference between prejudice and bias. And I was just curious, in your estimation, what is the difference between prejudice and biased? Being biased.
Before we discussed this here, my original interpretation of prejudice was a prejudged approach to a situation, and usually unfounded in fact, and biased was kind of an inclination towards or against something, and bias didn't, in my own mind, count. It wasn't as well thought out as a prejudice. Emotional against thought, possibly.
Well, basically, in very simple terms, prejudice is really where you're against something, and being biased is really where you're more for something. But Teresa had a good point. It's all subjective.
It's all subjective, yeah.
And so the questions that we have, it's rather interesting in developing these. We make up our own position or our opinion based on some of these questions. You want to read a few of the questions that were put down?
Okay, one that what are three things that our society does well? Take a shot at it, Terry?
Well, just read a few.
Okay, what are three things that young people do well? What are three things that women are doing well? What does our media do well? What religion might be best? And what do our politicians do well? And what's good about our health system? what's good about some good things about people in general. And then what 3 things about the Christian faith is that they're doing well, or the Muslim faith, or the Jewish faith, or spirituality, or Confucianism.
And with all those questions, isn't it easy for us as people to find the bad in almost everything?
Yeah. I could quickly define all the bad things rather than it took some thought to come up with some good things.
Sure, and it's one of the reasons is that we are naturally tending to be negative people. We are taught to be prejudiced or basically against certain kinds of things that we don't believe, or we are very biased towards things we believe to the exclusion of others. And that was the question, and we were talking beforehand, and I found some of your answers rather good and rather interesting.
Well, different anyway.
Yeah.
The 3 things that society does well. Now, if you stop and think about it, our society provides peace. We don't have fighting going on in the streets and in our house. Now, other parts of the world do, but right here, our society provides peace and comfort, health, safety. We have fire and police protection and so forth, with a minimum of discomfort. As long as
there is tragedies. What do you say?
Yeah, there's stuff happens, but it's not on a daily basis, and it's not widespread. I mean, we're not the Wild West anymore. I could go walking in my neighborhood anytime during the night and feel absolutely safe. By myself. And that doesn't happen everywhere, but things are getting better despite what you see in the media. I mean, the bad gets all the publicity, and the good is on page 3. And so.
I know that we can walk into a grocery store and in just one section find nothing but fruit.
Yeah.
There is a store down in Cincinnati that has products from every ethnic group that live in that area. And so if you want kangaroo soup,
you could go get you a hunk of kangaroo. I know sometimes in some of the fruit sections, if there's fruit in there, I got no clue what it is. It's like, I don't know what that is, and it has a word, and I still don't know what it is.
Well, now, health, for instance, we got a new hospital just opening up. I have been actively engaged in King's Daughters and SOMC just in the last 30 days, and the emergency care service and regular facilities, and they do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Now they charge a fantastic price too, but that's part of the evolution of our system. Is they made it affordable back when they started with Blue Cross, and it fueled a generation of resources that they're still milking. And we'll answer to that someday, but we're talking about positive things right now.
Right. Sure.
And safety. The local police department just got a grant from the government. They had 3 more patrolmen. The system works, and it provides us safety. And I would say, we got 30,000 people in Scioto County, and there's not more than 100 of them that are really in destitute shape. I mean, the rest of them are being provided for in some way.
Yeah.
And
wouldn't you also find, and this answer I'd like to direct to Teresa. Teresa, you've lived long enough to see a lot of the unique changes that women have experienced. I know in growing up, I once commented to my mother how women should be treated as second-class citizens. And wow, she wouldn't speak to me for a couple days. You know, I was just joking.
Yeah.
But there was a prevalence, wasn't there, of that women weren't respected or weren't treated as they are today.
This is true. I mean, there's still a lot of that going on, but not as much as there used to be. And it's just because, well, some of it is just we aren't property, toys. We're not delicate little flowers. We can step up and take care of ourselves, take care of our families. And society's finally opening their eyes and realizing that. And I mean, it started back during World War II when all the women went to the factories to take over for the men, and they came home and they said, "Well, we're not going back in the house. What are you talking about?" You know, and some did and some didn't. And I, for one, I bought a brand new Harley Davidson in like 1978, and I thought he was going to drop over. You know, but it's like I'm not a traditional person, and I'm just glad that I've lived in a country that allowed me to be free like that. You know, if I lived in some other country, I'd have been killed a long time ago for my blasphemy. You know, but yeah, women have come a long way, and we still have a long way to go. But it all comes down to education of the next generation is really what it is. So it's going to take another 30, 40 years, you know.
One of the questions that on the list is, what are the three things that women are doing well? Now,
his answers are all quite sexist.
Well, okay, but what they do? I mean, I can't have a baby.
I know. I understand.
And I don't do a very good job of taking care of the one that I had, or once. This was the female's job to nurture and serve and protect her infant, and through her satanic talents entice me to pay for it.
That's good. Yeah, but see, not everybody's choosing to have children.
No, but even then, the women are law-abiding. They're
good citizens.
Yeah, and tax-paying citizens, and they serve and protect. I mean, you don't necessarily have to carry a gun to protect your environment and your position. So actually, the negative aspects of women, I can understand where the little kid grows up and runs to mommy, and mommy solves all of the problems and so forth, and daddy is out there fighting the dragons and bringing home the rabbits and stuff like that. And so the kid grows up and finds out, well, I want to be like daddy. And so he as he switches his allegiance, then mother becomes second tier in his life. And you go around and there's a period in his life as an adolescent that he doesn't like girls. And that, if not corrected, will carry right on into adulthood, and you meet those guys at the gas station. You're a woman, you don't know nothing.
Oh, I still run into that.
Sure you do.
But actually, there's been times lately that I've played on that to gain information.
Well,
you know, and to get something done that I needed to be done.
This is actually how the female has done this down through centuries.
But I've never done that before.
Well, couldn't catch it up.
Yeah, I mean, I've had trouble because I speak my mind, I speak up, and it's like, evil. You know.
Patrick, you got a comment on that?
Well, the one comment that I have is that sometimes we confuse personality, and we like what Teresa was alluding to. Sometimes we put things in categories like being a sexist, or being a male, or being a female, in particular perspectives. When in reality, all of us are different. And all of us are unique, and that men and women have their strengths and of course their weaknesses. And I think our society has allowed us to sort of explore and be willing to be open enough to enjoy the positive results of both men and women.
Yeah, well, it's like, look at our First Lady, right? She's a lawyer. I mean, she's not just a First Lady that's just been married to this guy for whatever length of time. She's a successful lawyer in her own right. You know, now 50 years ago, what was the First Lady? She was just the husband's wife, you know. And now, I mean, they have campaigns and things. So it's times are changing, but they got a long way to go. Long way to go.
Yeah, and as long as you have those particular differences, and you have people that the one thing that I wrote down was their ability to think. All of us have the ability to think. Sometimes we have half thoughts, and we speak our mind when we have those half thoughts, etc. And it looks like it's a little bit confusing, etc. But I have yet to meet a normal individual, whether they're men or women, not having the ability. They do have the ability to think and to come to the conclusion on certain things, whether it's prejudices or biases. But they do think.
Yeah, that's true.
That's important.
Some of them a little slower, a little faster, a little different.
Yeah,
but everybody thinks. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also interesting what you were alluding to. You wrote down a lot of stuff in regards to money. Money is a concept, and I think you were sharing one of 20 pages of stuff that you came with money.
Well, it turned out that the experts present different viewpoints. Aristotle was supposed to have done a treatise on the creation of money, and he did this in 1800 BC, and they treated it as though this was a new invention at this time. And it turns out, if you go in, there's 12,000 years before that. Hammurabi has a section of commercial law about contracts and payments and loans and so forth.
Probably
this
money
was
involved then.
Babylon.
Yeah.
And we read in the Caveman series there that June R. Wrote about how the barter system started out. Like, the hunter comes back with a piece of meat and he shares it with the group, and Joe over there isn't a very good hunter, but he's a good arrow maker, and so he swaps him a piece of meat for arrowheads and arrows and bow makers and different aspects of that nature.
Trading goods has been around for a long time.
Yeah, and one of the concepts that came out of this picture what was the concept that in the barter system is, you don't have what I want, so I owe you one.
Credit.
Which is credit, and the concept of money, all back in such a phrase. It's the current idiom, I owe you one. But it encapsulates.
In a way, didn't that sort of follow some of the religious teachings and dogma in the fact that if you do something well for someone, you're banking that good deed, so that way
for future benefits.
Future benefits.
Future benefits.
You're right.
And if you do something bad, spend all of your money, etc.
You go hungry.
That's right.
You're bankrupt.
And some religions, and I saw you were looking at some of the religions about they had that reincarnation, the law of cause and effect, that you come back to this plane, according to one of the things that we read, if you've done bad or if you've done good. And It's interesting, with the money, we put all sorts of emotions and feelings and thoughts into that, and it covers how we really see other people and how we see.
Well, you mentioned religion. You asked what religion might be best.
Well, no, I said what three things are good in various. Did I say?
No, I have a question here.
Right.
What religion might be best? And I thought about that after going through. The computer gave me 31 different religions, and I probably did 10 of them. And I'm familiar maybe with another 10. And my reaction was something that's a less rigid organization, because religion categorically is the development or the understanding of self as it relates to your existence. Now, whether you believe in an afterlife or not is not necessarily relevant, but about half of these 30 units here believe in original sin, and the other half don't.
And what is original sin?
Original sin is the you have defied or broken God's rule, and are to be punished for it, or you have to have restitution, or you have to do penance, or have somebody do penance for you. All kinds of derivatives come out of that, and I think that the Confucius or Buddhist group says that there is no original sin. It's you and your responsibilities to yourself, to the society you live in, and know yourself is quite common in defining the religions there. Learn to recognize your angers and your hates and prejudices
one thing I kind of realized over this list is quite interesting, is that there seems to be a bit of a difference between the so-called Western religions and the Eastern religions. Is the Western religions kind of tell you, don't look inside yourself, here's what you're supposed to do, this is how you're supposed to do it, don't think for yourself, that's that, and these guys are saying, think for yourself, this is the way it is, look inside, expand your mind. It's quite interesting, so I mean, it's,
well, I did read down the. I put these questions on there. What's good about what is the Christian faith doing well? What is the Muslim faith doing well? What is the Jewish faith doing well? And I did the first 5 of them here, and they were defining themselves as compared to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say this is good about Christianity, or this is what's good
it's
about.
All mine is better. Mine is better.
Mine is better compared. The Muslims claim that the guy is more devout and closer to God because he's required to pray 5 times a day, and that to me has connotations of control and brainwashing.
3 things that I feel religions help is that, number 1, it helps keep people thinking about how to do their best.
90 seconds.
Second of all is many religions help other people, regardless of the denomination.
Okay, good.
Well, they help their own people too.
Yes. And the third thing is living ethical lives according to the social rules.
Okay.
They're following their rules, even though they might be different than mine, but they are following rules.
Rules, yeah, they are. They have rules.
Some religions say that if you don't abide by the civil laws, that is a major sin.
Yeah.
And so, oftentimes, those are considered ethical decisions on our part.
Yeah.
based on social.
Well, I think that's a good summation of what we're doing here is that we our computer
gone
dropped
dark.
off.
We're out of time.
We thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
I'm Steve.
I'm Teresa.
And Patrick.
And I'm Patrick. Thank you for allowing me on your show.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you for being with us. Yeah.
Gigi Blankies, thank you for listening to the podcast today. This program is archived at Blog Talk Radio, captured and archived for YouTube video, and linked to Facebook as Musings with Steve and Teresa. Think positive, be positive, live positive, and enjoy.